I am continuing with my 7th house series. For this video, we're going to talk about Libra 7th house. So I've already done all the other 7th houses leading up to this one. Now, before I get into it, I do want to say that I have my email in the description if you have any questions or inquiries. I also have my website in the description if you would like to book a reading. And I also started an email list recently, so if you sign up for that, you will receive an immediate discount code off of any of my readings, and I'm also going to be sharing astrological insights and forecasts on a weekly basis, so it's lots of good stuff. Okay, and feel free to like and subscribe if you feel so inclined or you like my content and you want to see more of it. Okay, let's get into it. Libra 7th house. So Libra 7th house is typically pretty good because the 7th house rules over relationships. Libra naturally rules over partnerships. So when this energy is combined, people with Libra 7th house tend to want to get married, right? They tend to want to, they enjoy their relationships. Now, it is a little bit tricky because if you have a Libra 7th house, you have an Aries 1st house and Aries rising in Placidus. And people with Aries rising, they are very, very adamant about their sense of independence. So Libra 7th house can be really tricky because there can be a lack of moderation and balance. So basically what I mean by this is if you have a Libra 7th house, you might lose sight of yourself in relationships. A common way that this can take place is by kind of morphing into the person that you're dating. So if you start dating a cowboy, you can become a cowgirl, basically. You know what I mean? You can start to kind of tweak and alter your own identity and your own self, everything that you've kind of developed internally up to that relationship. You can, I don't want to go as far as saying, oh, you can throw it away, but you can kind of start to morph yourself into whatever you think your partner wants of you. Not to mention, Libra 7th house can also be really codependent. And I don't want to just kind of say that they're all codependent, like everyone with Libra 7th, because you kind of have a dichotomy here. You have two archetypes, basically. You have the codependent Libra 7th house who morphs into their partner or has a lot of difficulty separating themselves and their sense of self-worth from their relationships, from the way other people perceive them. And then you have the Libra 7th houser who is essentially caught up in kind of that more wishy-washy, indecisive energy of Libra, and it can make it really hard to commit. And yeah, there can just be some commitment issues. So it can kind of create a gap between them and their partner. So odds are you probably fall into one of two categories. Before you reach that enlightened state where you can find healthy balance and moderation, and you can maintain your sense of independence while still enjoying the art of togetherness. That's the goal for people who have Libra 7th house. The goal is to learn how to balance your it's basically you're trying to balance me and we. You're trying to find a healthy balance between maintaining your freedom, maintaining your autonomy, maintaining your sense of independence, maintaining your identity, and of course, merging your life with the life of another. Now, in a favorable expression, Libra 7th house, again, like I said earlier, it does bode really well for marriage because Libra naturally rules over partnerships. So for most people with Libra 7th house, yeah, there is a desire to get married. The tricky thing here, because if you have a Libra 7th, you have an Aries 1st. Aries 1st house individuals tend to be on the more impulsive side. So if you have a Libra 7th, you might rush into relationships. That would again fit more into that like codependent archetype where you're so eager to be in a relationship, you're terrified of being alone. That's a legitimate fear of people who have prominent Libra placements. I don't care if it's Libra rising, I don't care if it's Libra descendant, I don't care if it's Libra sun, Libra Venus, if you Libra moon, that's another big one. If you have a prominent Libra placement, you probably fear being alone. So that fear can kind of push people with Libra 7th house to rush into relationships. And I hate to say it, but people with Libra 7th house, especially in early romantic development, they might settle. They might settle for someone they don't even really like that much because in their mind, it's better to be with someone that they don't even really like than to be alone. Okay, that's a certain type of archetype you can get with Libra 7th house. And that would be abandoning themselves, basically, you know, so afraid to be alone, so afraid to confront their independence and their autonomy, so afraid to, excuse me, kind of address and confront the fact that they are in control. remember, Libra is a cardinal sign. And while cardinal signs can be very bossy, they're very forthcoming, they're very straightforward, they like to take control. Sometimes taking control can be really scary and intimidating. It can be terrifying to recognize the fact that you are the one making decisions for you. So if a decision doesn't turn out how you want, you can feel the brunt of the blame, basically. So for Libra 7th house, they can kind of rush into a relationship because they don't want to be the sole caretakers of themselves, essentially. That's like part of it. And then part of it is, of course, that fear of being alone. Again, Libra 7th house bodes well for marriage. That's a benefit, but that's also kind of the detriment because you can rush into marriage. Marriage can be something that feels so natural, and it feels just like a natural progression of life. It's kind of an inevitable milestone, but if you're rushing to get there, then yeah, it might not pan out. You might not make the wisest decision. Now, for people with Libra 7th house, in a favorable expression, like once you can kind of learn how to, again, balance me and we, figure out how to maintain your independence and your identity while still enjoying the art of togetherness, then you can attract a partner who is just as about partnership as you, except again, that partner probably has a good balance of maintaining their identity, but still adoring you, fawning over you, wanting to provide for you. So if you have Libra 7th, you can attract a partner who's very much about commitment, very devoted, very loyal, and not just that, but a partner who prioritizes romance, a partner who tries to keep the spark alive. Libra is a very indulgent sign. They like things that feel good. They like things that look good. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying about settling. When we think settling, sometimes we think about settling down with someone who is maybe not up to our standards, someone who does not fulfill us emotionally, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes for Libra 7th house, settling means settling for someone who might be good on paper, but is not good in a relationship. So, and that's because I hate to say it, Libra is ruled by Venus, which Venus, yes, planet of love, but also planet that deals a lot with like status, image, money. I think you kind of get where I'm going. So people with Libra 7th house might prioritize some of those non-romantic components of love. Their values and priorities in love can be a little bit skewed at times. So if you have Libra 7th, at some point or another, maybe if you know someone or whatever, there might be some pattern here that kind of pushes you towards people who, again, good on paper, they're handsome, they're beautiful, they make good money, they have a great career, they have a lot of friends, but they're not good partners. So you kind of need to wake up and face reality, basically. You need to assess your values and your priorities in romance. I'm not saying you can't have a lover who, again, has like all of those great things. I'm not saying you need to go date an ugly, unambitious loser. But I am saying you kind of need to check your priorities and your values. You need to make sure that you're prioritizing suitors, partners who actually portray and exhibit characteristics that are in alignment with what a long-term committed relationship requires. So you want to be cautious. You don't want to date or worse, marry someone just because they check off certain boxes that society kind of makes you feel like you have to be with. Like if you're looking for real love, you got to think outside of those check marks. So in a favorable expression, the indulgent and feel-good nature of Libra can allow for a partnership that's very romantic, a partnership that satisfies you on an emotional level, on a mental level, and on a physical level, and on a spiritual level. And this can also note having a partner who is very just very well equipped to handle marriage, meaning your partner is really good at compromising. Your partner loves to share. Having a partner who just understands what it's like and what is required of them to share their life with another person. So marrying someone who wants to get married and loves to be married, and also in a lot of cases marrying someone who wants kids, who wants to start a family. And because again, Libra is still a cardinal sign, you can also marry someone who has a good work life, someone who brings in the bucks. Again, Libra is kind of a materialistic sign, so you don't want to marry just for that purpose, but You can definitely marry someone who is wealthy, someone who wants to provide for you, someone who wants to spoil you, someone who enjoys the finer things in life. And that can be a motive for your partner to make a lot of money, is like to spoil you, to make sure that you're comfortable. When you have Libra 7th house, you're more likely to attract people in a favorable expression, like once you've worked all that other stuff out. A partner who is very much concerned with you. A partner who wants to prioritize their partner, you. Now, I will say, the only tricky thing, like even when you find your person and it's amazing and they're your soulmate, the only tricky thing you have to be mindful of is you really want to be mindful of your communication. Libra is an air sign after all. Communication is really important. And because Libra is a cardinal sign, there's a really weird paradox here where it's like you want to put yourself first, but you can't stop thinking about that other person. And this can lead to power struggles. It can lead to issues with control, because on one hand, you want to be the one making the decision about what to eat for dinner. Well, I want Chinese food. But you're so concerned with what your partner wants that you can kind of put your needs on the back burner. That's what leads to that classic passive-aggressive Libra energy that we're all familiar with. That's what leads to that snarkiness and that resentment that builds over time. So if you have Libra 7th house, when you find your person, you need to make sure that when you're communicating and making decisions, don't be afraid to like make your needs and wants known. Don't be afraid. I know I'm talking about it in a dinner context, but honestly, don't be afraid to say, I want Chinese food. Don't be afraid to say what you want. It's just you can't beat around the bush. You really can't do any of that. Not when you're in a marriage. It's gonna grow old and you're gonna get resentful. It's gonna be horrible. So just make yourself known in the relationship, okay? That will help you so much. Now, in terms of where you can meet your person, I also want to say for people with Libra 7, your partner can be very dynamic. So your partner can be creative, they can be business savvy, they can really embody a lot of different modes of identity, I guess I should say, because Libra is a very dynamic sign in a lot of ways. There's like a sophisticated, demure nature to them. There is a cardinal, strong, passionate nature. And then there is a soft, kind of feminine, creative nature. So your partner can really embody all of those things. Now, in terms of where you can meet your partner, if you have Libra 7th, similar to like Gemini 7th, you can just meet them in a social setting. You can meet them in a social gathering, just go out into the world, go to parties, go to events. You can meet them through mutual friends. You can just meet them literally any place that people are congregating with the intention to socialize, even if it's like a professional networking event, even if it's online, there's really no shortage. And another thing, this is kind of crazy, you could even meet your partner through an ex. Which brings me to another point here, which is if you have Libra 7th house and you are in a relationship, I hate to say it, and I'm not accusing all of them of doing this, but it's not uncommon if a Libra 7th house person wants to break up with you, they might find someone else before doing it. And that is a testament to their passive nature. They might literally find somebody else before they leave you. It's like the Libra 7th house can basically move on with some other person before dumping you. It's not all of them, I promise, but it can happen. They can prefer to just have a plan B before getting rid of their plan A, essentially. So in terms of where you could meet your partner, you could meet them through an ex. You could meet them while dating someone you don't like. Like you could meet them while you're dating the person that you settled for, essentially. It's very messy. It's very soap opera dramatic, but it can happen. So anyway, you can meet your partner through other social mutuals that you might have with them. Okay, that is like everything I can think of pretty much off the top of my head. It's going to differ depending on what planets or celestial bodies are in your 7th house, what your descendant is in aspect to, where your Venus is, where your Juno is. There's a lot of moving pieces here, but that's kind of like the gist of Libra 7th house. It's a little bit of a complicated one, but at the end of the day, it bodes well for marriage. You just want to be mindful, you don't want to settle, and you don't want to lose your identity in your relationship. Like you want to kind of overcome that fear of being alone, basically. So I hope that made sense. Again, I have my email in the description. I have my website there. I have my email list you can sign up for. Let me know if this video resonated with you, whether you have Libra 7th or you know someone or you're married to someone. I hope this gave you good insight. And also feel free to leave me a comment letting me know if there are other types of videos, video suggestions that you would like to see from me.